The bridge of the Coalition warship hummed with quiet efficiency. Captain Tae-sung stood at the center, his hands clasped behind his back as he watched the viewscreen display the vast emptiness of space. Around him, officers from a dozen different species worked at their stations. The humans were easy to spot among them. Smaller than most, but moving with quick confidence. Tae-sung had commanded vessels for 15 years in the Earth Defense Force before humanity joined the Galactic Coalition 6 months ago. He knew ships, he knew combat, and he knew his crew. What he did not know was why the alien officers seemed so uncomfortable around his people. Ji-won sat at the weapon station, her fingers dancing across holographic controls. She was running diagnostics on the ship's main cannons. The test sequences flashed green one after another. A smile crossed her face as the final system came online perfectly dotted at the science station. Vekthar watched her with his 3 eyes narrowed. The reptilian officer had scales that shifted from green to brown, depending on his mood. Right now, they were definitely brown. He leaned toward his console and began typing a report. "Weapon systems at full capacity, Captain," Ji-won called out. Her voice carried the slight excitement it always did when working with new technology. "These coalition cannons are something else. We could punch through a moon with these." Tae-sung nodded. "Good work. Bring us about. Let us run the combat drill one more time." The ship turned smoothly. On the view screen, target drones appeared in the distance. They were small, fast, and programmed to mimic enemy fighters. The Coalition wanted to see how human crews performed under pressure. "Here we go again," Ji-won muttered, but she was grinning. Her hands moved to the firing controls. Ambassador Hai-rin stood near the back of the bridge, observing. She had been assigned to this ship to help smooth relations between humans and their new alien allies. So far, it was proving more difficult than expected. She noticed Vekthar staring at Ji-won again and sighed quietly. The drill began. Target drones swooped toward the ship in attack patterns. Ji-won tracked them with practiced ease, her fingers tapping commands. The ship's cannons fired in bright bursts of energy. One drone exploded, then another. "2 down," she said, and there was that smile again. More drones came from different angles. Tae-sung called out coordinates calmly while Ji-won adjusted fire. The bridge crew worked together like a machine. When a particularly tricky drone came in fast and low, Ji-won caught it with a difficult shot and let out a small laugh. "Got you," she whispered. Vathar's scales went darker. The drill ended with all targets destroyed. The bridge crew relaxed. A few humans exchanged satisfied looks. One officer at the engineering station chuckled about something. Tae-sung turned to find Vekthar approaching him stiffly. The reptilian's expression was hard to read, but his body language spoke of discomfort. "Captain Tae-sung, I must file a formal observation," Vekthar said. "Go ahead. Your crew exhibits disturbing behavior during combat exercises." The weapons officers smiled while destroying targets. Others laughed. This suggests a lack of understanding regarding the seriousness of warfare. Vekthar's voice was formal, careful. The Coalition has fought the Devourers for 3 decades. Millions have died. War is not entertainment. Tae-sung kept his expression neutral. "My crew takes combat very seriously, I assure you." "Then why do they smile?" It was a fair question. Tae-sung had been asked variations of it several times already. He glanced at Ji-won, who was now reviewing combat data with another human officer. Both were discussing the drill with casual ease, occasionally grinning at particularly good shots. "It is just how humans are," Tae-sung said finally. "We smile for many reasons. It does not mean we treat this lightly." Vekthar's 3 eyes blinked in sequence. "I do not understand. In my species, we show teeth only as a threat display. Most coalition species associate visible pleasure with positive experiences. Your people smile while simulating killing. It is unsettling. Ambassador Hyrin stepped forward smoothly. Perhaps I can help explain. Human expressions are complex. A smile during work often indicates focus and satisfaction with performance, not enjoyment of violence itself. Your weapons officer laughed, Vecthar pointed out. She was pleased with a difficult shot, Hyrin said, like a craftsman admiring good work. Vecthar did not look convinced. I will still file my report. Coalition Command should be aware of this behavioral pattern. When we face the Devourers in real combat, your crew's reactions may disturb other Coalition forces. Taesung nodded slowly. Do what you must. The reptilian officer returned to his station. Eren moved closer to Taesung and spoke quietly. This is becoming a problem, Captain. 3 other ships have filed similar reports. The Coalition thinks we might be unstable. Some species are calling us the Grinning Deathworlders, and not in a friendly way. What would you have me do? Taesung asked. Order my crew to stop smiling? That would only make them uncomfortable, which would actually affect their performance. I know. Hyrin rubbed her temples. I am scheduled to give a presentation to Coalition Command next week about human psychology. I just wish there was more data, more time to help them understand us. Time is something we may not have, Taesung said. He gestured to the view screen, where the empty space of the border region stretched endlessly. Devour activity has increased in this sector. Intelligence suggests a major push is coming. When real combat starts, our new allies will see exactly how humans fight. That is what worries me, Hyrin admitted. Across the bridge, G1 had pulled up recordings of the drill. She was showing another officer a particularly nice shot sequence. Both were smiling as they reviewed the tactical data. Neither noticed Vecthar watching them with his scales turned almost black. Captain, Taesung returned his attention to the view screen. Somewhere out there in the dark, the Devourers were coming. Humanity had finally joined the galactic community, only to find itself immediately thrown into an ancient war. His crew was ready. They were skilled, brave, and highly trained. They also smiled at the strangest times. He wondered how the galaxy would react when the shooting really started. The alarm screamed through the Coalition fleet before anyone could react. One moment, the supply convoy was moving peacefully through the Crimson Nebula. The next, space itself seemed to tear open as Devour ships poured through. Commander Dong Hyan was in his fighter when the attack began. He had been running a routine patrol with his squadron, bored and slightly sleepy. The boredom vanished the instant his sensors lit up with enemy contacts. All wings, this is Dong Hyan. We have multiple hostiles incoming. Break and engage. His voice was calm, almost conversational. He pushed his fighter into a hard turn and accelerated toward the nearest Devourer ship. Behind him, 11 other human fighters followed. On the fleet command deck, Krevel watched the tactical display with growing alarm. The insectoid commander had 4 arms, all of which were now frantically working different controls. The Devourers had brought 30 warships. The convoy only had 12 coalition vessels and 1 squadron of fighters. The human fighters. All ships, defensive formation. Krevel clicked and buzzed. Protect the supply vessels. The coalition ships moved into position. Their movements precise but slow. They were cargo escorts, not frontline warships. This was going to be a massacre. Then Krevel heard something that made his antennae twitch with confusion. It was coming through the open communication channel with the human fighters. Someone was laughing. Youngmi had spotted a Devour fighter moving to flank the convoy. She dove toward it with her engines screaming. The enemy ship twisted, trying to shake her, but she stayed locked on its tail. Her fingers squeezed the trigger and the devourer exploded in a bright flash. "Ha! That is one," she called out. "Good shot," Dong Haiyan replied. His own fighter was weaving through a pattern of enemy fire. 3 devourer ships were chasing him, their weapons tracking his movements. Instead of running, he pulled his fighter into an impossible spiral that brought him face to face with his pursuers. He fired at point-blank range, destroying one. "These things are slower than I expected." Krivo stared at the communication readout. The translator was working correctly. The humans were really talking like this during combat. One of his officers leaned closer. "Commander, should we tell them to maintain communication discipline?" "No," Krivo said slowly. "Let them work. Look at the tactical display." The human fighters were tearing through the Devour formation like knives through soft flesh. They took risks that no sane pilot would attempt. They flew so close to explosions that shrapnel bounced off their shields. And they kept talking in those strange light voices. Young Mi found herself surrounded by 3 enemy fighters. Any normal pilot would have panicked. Instead, she grinned inside her helmet and cut her engines completely. The sudden loss of momentum made the Devourer ships overshoot her position. She spun in place, fired 3 times, and resumed acceleration. 3 more down. "I think I am going to beat your score today, Commander." "Not if I can help it," Dong Haiyan replied. His fighter rolled through another attack pattern. The battle raged for 20 minutes. A Devourer destroyer broke through the defensive line and started firing on a supply ship. Before any coalition vessel could respond, 4 human fighters hit it from different angles. The destroyer's shields collapsed under the concentrated assault. "That was almost too easy," one of the human pilots commented. Krivo watched with a mixture of horror and fascination. The humans fought with a casualness that seemed utterly wrong. They made jokes. They laughed when they succeeded. One pilot even hummed what the translator called music while dodging fire. Finally, the Devourers retreated. Their fleet had been reduced by half, while the convoy had only lost 1 cargo ship. The human squadron returned to the carrier without a single loss. When the fighters landed, Krivo went down to the hangar personally. He needed to see these humans up close after what he had witnessed. Su Dashbin was already there. The combat medic had set up a field station to check pilots for injuries. She smiled warmly as each pilot approached, running quick scans and asking gentle questions about their condition. "Any dizziness? Nausea? You pulled some serious turns out there." "I am fine, Subin, just hungry," Young Mi said, grinning. She looked utterly relaxed, as if she had just returned from a pleasant flight rather than mortal combat. Dong Haiyan removed his helmet and ran a hand through his sweat-dampened hair. He was smiling too. That same smile he had worn in his voice during the entire battle. Krivo approached him carefully. The human turned and nodded in greeting. "Commander Krivo. Apologies if we broke any communication protocols out there. First time working with Coalition Fleet coordination." "Your performance was exceptional," Krivo said. His translator struggled slightly with the clicking rhythm of his speech. "But I must ask, why were you laughing?" Dong Haiyan looked puzzled. "Was I?" "Yes, during combat. Your entire squadron exhibited signs of pleasure and amusement." "Oh," Dong Haiyan shrugged. "I suppose we did. It was just how we deal with stress, I guess. When things get intense, some people crack jokes. It helps. Helps with what?" "Helps keep the fear away." Dong Haiyan said it simply, as if it was the most obvious thing in the universe. Krivo felt his mandibles click together nervously. "You were afraid?" "Of course. Those Devourer ships were trying to kill us." Dong Haiyan looked at the insectoid commander with curiosity. "Were you not afraid?" "I was terrified," Krivo admitted. "That is why I was silent. Fear demands focus." "Interesting." Dong Haiyan considered this. "For us, Fear demands defiance. We laugh at it, smile at it, refuse to let it control us. Subin finished her examinations and approached him. She was still smiling. That warm expression that Krevel was learning was meant to be comforting. To him, it looked predatory. She showed her teeth like his species did before attacking prey. Everyone is healthy, Commander. No injuries except some minor bruising from the high acceleration. She looked at Krevel. Can I check you as well? Your carapace shows some stress cracks. I am fine, Krevel said quickly, backing away slightly. Subin's smile faded. Did I say something wrong? No. I simply must return to the bridge. Krevel turned and left quickly. Behind him, he heard Donghain speaking to Subin. I think we make them nervous. We smile too much. Something like that. Both humans laughed. The sound echoed through the hangar, and Krevel walked faster. He had reports to file. Coalition Command needed to know what he had seen. The humans had fought brilliantly, but their behavior was deeply disturbing. They smiled while others would have wept. They laughed where others would have screamed. And most frightening of all, they seemed to think this was normal. What kind of species grins at death itself? The diplomatic chamber on Coalition headquarters was built to accommodate dozens of different species. The ceiling stretched high enough for the winged delegates. The floor had sections of different temperatures for those who needed heat or cold. In the center, a circular platform held representatives from 200 worlds. Dr. Kyung-soo stood on that platform and tried not to show his nervousness. Around him, hundreds of alien eyes watched with suspicion. He was here to explain why humans smiled during battle. The reports from 5 different engagements had caused serious concern. Some coalition members were calling for humanity to be removed from combat roles entirely. Ambassador Hiron sat in the human delegation section, offering him an encouraging nod. Next to the platform stood Lieutenant Jaehee in full military dress. The scarred veteran was here as a living example. High Chancellor Morthkan raised one ancient hand for silence. The being was older than some civilizations, having served the Coalition for 3 centuries. His species aged slowly and forgot nothing. Dr. Kyung-soo, you may begin your presentation. Help us understand your people. Kyung-soo took a breath and activated the holographic display. An image of Earth appeared, rotating slowly. To understand human behavior, you must understand where we come from. Earth is what we call a death world. Compared to most coalition planets, it is a nightmare. Murmurs ran through the chamber. Kyung-soo continued. Our world has extreme weather. Hurricanes that can destroy cities. Earthquakes that reshape continents. Volcanoes that block out the sun. But worse than the planet itself were the other. Creatures that evolved alongside us. The display shifted to show various Earth predators. Lions, bears, wolves, sharks, crocodiles. The alien representative shifted uncomfortably. Humans did not start at the top of the food chain. For most of our evolution, we were prey. We were hunted by animals stronger, faster, and better armed than us. We survived not through physical superiority, but through our minds and our ability to work together. Vekthar spoke up from the Coalition military section. This does not explain the smiling. I am getting there, Kyung-soo said. Humans developed complex stress responses. When faced with danger, our bodies flood with chemicals. Our hearts beat faster. Our muscles tense. But here is what makes us different. We also develop psychological tools to manage that fear. The display showed brain scans. Humor, laughter, and smiling are all connected to our stress management systems. When a human smiles during danger, it is not because they enjoy violence. It is because their brain is fighting against panic. A delegate from the crystalline world spoke, their voice like chimes. This seems inefficient. Why not simply focus entirely on the threat? Lieutenant Jae-hee stepped forward. May I, Doctor? Kyung-soo nodded. Jae-hee faced the chamber. His uniform held 5 medals for valor. His left arm was cybernetic, replaced after an injury. When he spoke, his voice carried the weight of experience. 3 years ago, I was on a dropship heading to a contested planet. Engine failure. We were going down hard. Everyone knew we would probably die. He paused. Do you know what our squad did? We made jokes. Dark ones, stupid ones. We laughed about how the landing would hurt. Several aliens made sounds of confusion or disgust. When we crashed, 7 of us survived. We fought our way through enemy territory for 6 days to reach friendly lines. And during those 6 days, we kept making jokes. We kept smiling when we could. Jae-hee's expression grew serious. Not because we were happy. Because fear makes you freeze. Fear makes you slow. The smile, the joke, the laugh, they break the fear's grip. They let you keep moving when your body wants to give up. He was smiling slightly as he said this. Several delegates recoiled. Kyung-soo resumed his presentation. Humans evolved to face fear with defiance. Show me your teeth, and I will show you mine. Scare me, and I will laugh at you. This is not madness. This is survival adaptation from millions of years of being hunted. The display showed recordings from recent battles. Human soldiers fighting with those characteristic grins. Human pilots calling out encouragement while dodging fire. Human commanders issuing orders with calm humor in their voices. You see pleasure. We see people forcing themselves to stay functional under extreme stress. A reptilian delegate similar to Vecthar stood. But this disturbs our troops. They think your people are unstable. Some refuse to fight alongside humans. I understand, Kyung-soo said. Your species shows calm through silence and stillness. Ours shows it through action and expression. Neither is wrong, just different. Chancellor Morthkin had been silent throughout. Now he leaned forward in his seat. Tell me, Doctor, can this trait be controlled? What do you mean? Can humans choose when to display this behavior? Kyung-soo hesitated. To some degree, yes. In formal settings, humans can maintain neutral expressions. But in combat, under genuine stress, the response is often involuntary. I see. The Chancellor's ancient eyes seemed to look through Kyung-soo. And if the enemy sees this behavior, how do they react? The chamber went quiet. Kyung-soo realized where this was going. I do not have data on that, Chancellor. Then perhaps we should gather some. Morthkin turned to address the full chamber. The Devourers have fought us for 30 years. They know how coalition species react to fear. We run, we freeze, we fight in terror. But humans smile at danger. What if we made sure the Devourers knew this? Vecthar stood abruptly. You want to weaponize their behavior? I want to use every advantage we have, the Chancellor said calmly. The Devourers are a hive mind. They consume prey. They understand fear because that is what prey shows. But what happens when prey refuses to show fear? When prey grins while fighting back? Ambassador Hyrin rose. Chancellor, my people did not join the coalition to become psychological weapons. Your people joined to help end this war, Morthkin countered. I am simply suggesting we fight it intelligently. Dr. Kyung-soo, you said humans smile to break fear's grip. Could it also break the enemy's confidence? Kyung-soo looked at Jae-hee, who shrugged slightly. Maybe. If the Devourers expect prey behavior and get predator behavior instead, it might confuse them. Exactly. The Chancellor stood, his full height imposing. I propose an experiment. We broadcast footage of human combat operations to Devour-controlled space. Let them see what they face. Let them see prey that smiles while biting back. The chamber erupted in debate. Some delegates supported the idea. Others called it insane. Through it all, Kyung-soo stood on the platform and wondered what he had just helped create. Later, in the human delegation quarters, Hyrin poured herself a drink with shaking hands. Did we just turn our own psychology into a weapon? Kyung-soo sat heavily. I think so. I was trying to help them understand us. Instead, I gave them ideas. Jae-hee looked unconcerned. If it helps win the war, does it matter? We smile anyway. Might as well make it count for something. That is not the point, Hyrin said. The point is they are not seeing us as allies with different expressions. They are seeing us as tools. Weapons that happen to look like people. Then we prove them wrong, Jae-hee said simply. We fight well. We help win this war. And we show them that humans are more than just our smiles. Kyung-soo hoped the soldier was right, but he could not shake the feeling that something had changed in that chamber. Humanity had joined the galaxy, seeking friendship and understanding. Instead, they had become something the galaxy feared and wanted to aim at their enemies. General Baora sat in the strategy room watching the same footage for the 10th time. On the screen, Corporal Minho stood alone on a defensive ridge. Behind him, a coalition evacuation site held 3,000 civilians. In front of him, 50 Devour warriors approached. The footage was from Minho's helmet camera. Baora could hear his breathing, steady and calm. She could see his hands gripping his weapon. And when the Devourers got close enough to see his face through the visor, she could see what made this footage special. Minho was grinning. Play it again, she told her aide. Dae-young, who ran psychological warfare operations, stood beside her. General, we have watched this 15 times now, and I will watch it 15 more if needed. Look at what happens next. On screen, the Devourers paused. The creatures were built for killing. They had claws, armor-plated skin, and the collective intelligence of thousands of minds. They should have overwhelmed one human soldier instantly. Instead, they hesitated. Minho used that hesitation. He opened fire, his weapon cutting down the front line. Then he did something insane. He laughed. The sound carried across the battlefield. The Devourers scattered, their formation breaking. They came at him individually instead of as a coordinated group. Minho held that ridge for 8 minutes until reinforcements arrived. He killed 23 Devourers. He survived without a scratch. Why did they break formation? Baora asked. They have fought us for 30 years. They know how to overwhelm individual defenders. Hee-young entered the room carrying a datapad. The intelligence officer looked tired. She had been analyzing Devourer behavior patterns for weeks. I think I have an answer, General. The Devourers are a hive mind, yes, but they still have base instincts from before they evolved collective intelligence. Those instincts recognize prey behavior. Fear, flight, fighting desperately. When prey shows these things, the hive mind knows how to respond. But Minho did not show prey behavior, Boer said. Exactly. He showed predator behavior, confidence, aggression, that grin. Hee-young pulled up biological data on the Devourers. Look at their evolutionary history. They developed as ambush hunters on their homeworld. They consumed creatures that ran or froze in fear. They have no experience with prey that smiles back. The young leaned forward. So, when they see a human grinning at them, their instincts do not know what to do? It is more than that, Hee-young said. Remember, they are a hive mind. Individual Devourers share experiences across the collective. That means every time they encounter a smiling human, the entire hive mind learns about it. And the more it happens, the more confused they become. Baar stood and paced the room. Can we use this? We already are, Dae-young said. After Chancellor Morthkin's suggestion, We started broadcasting human combat footage into Devour space. Footage like Minho's defense. Footage of young Mi laughing in her fighter. Footage of human soldiers joking while under fire. He pulled up analytics. Devour attack patterns have shifted. They are avoiding human units when possible. When forced to engage, they make mistakes. Show me. The screen changed to tactical maps. Young highlighted battle zones. Here, a Devour force had the option to attack a coalition position defended by mixed species or a pure human position with fewer troops. They chose the coalition position. Here, a Devour commander retreated from a fight they were winning when human reinforcements arrived. The humans had not even engaged yet. The Devourers withdrew just seeing them coming. Baora felt a chill. They are learning to fear us. Yes. Young's expression was conflicted. General, I need to tell you something. The broadcasts are having unintended effects. We are not just affecting Devour behavior. Other coalition species are requesting human attachments to their units. Not for fighting support. For psychological warfare. Explain. They want humans present during battles because the enemy fights worse when humans are there. Some coalition commanders are putting humans on the front lines just so the Devourers can see them smiling. Young pulled up reports. Private Sunghua was asked to remove her helmet during a firefight so the enemy could see her face. Lieutenant June was ordered to laugh into an open communication channel. They are turning our people into scarecrows. The room went silent. Bora read through the reports, her jaw tightening. These orders came from coalition officers? Yes, General. Denied. All of them. Bora's voice was hard. Send a message to Coalition Command. Human soldiers are not props. If they smile during combat, it is their natural response. We will not order them to perform for tactical advantage. General, with respect, De-Jung said carefully, is there really a difference? We are already broadcasting footage. We are already using human psychology as a weapon. There is a difference between documenting natural behavior and forcing it, Bora said. One is education. The other is exploitation. A message came through on the room's communication system. It was marked urgent. Young opened it, and her expression changed. General, we have a problem. Corporal Minho's footage went viral through the Devour communication networks. Their hive mind has designated him a priority target. They are calling him the Grinning Demon in their transmissions. Is he aware? Yes. He thinks it is funny. Of course he did. Bioro rubbed her temples. What else? Coalition Command wants to expand the psychological warfare program. They want to create a specialized unit of humans who will be deployed specifically to demoralize Devour forces. They are calling it Project Morale Breaker. They want us to create professional grinners, De-Jung said, his tone making it unclear if he was joking. Dabarev looked at the frozen image of Minho on the screen. The young corporal was still grinning, still standing alone against impossible odds. He was not doing it for show. He was doing it because that was how he survived. Set up a meeting with Coalition Command, she said finally. Tell them I want to discuss the parameters of this project personally. You are going to approve it? Young sounded surprised. I am going to make sure it is done right, Baora corrected. If the galaxy wants to use human psychology as a weapon, fine. But humans will control how it is used. We will not become dancing monkeys for other species' tactical plans. She turned back to the screen. And find Minho. Promote him. Then keep him away from the front lines for a while. If the Devourers are hunting him specifically, he has become too valuable to risk. He will hate that, De-Jung said. Probably. But he will follow orders. Baora smiled slightly, just a small expression. Besides, we need him alive. Can you imagine what the Devourers would do if they actually killed the Grinning Demon? The hive mind would broadcast it everywhere, He Young said. They would use it to show that humans can be killed, that the grinning prey can fall. Exactly. So we keep our demons alive and grinning. Ba'ora closed the file. Send word to all human units. Tell them to be themselves. Fight how they fight. Smile when they need to smile. But tell them the enemy is watching now. Tell them every grin, every laugh, every moment of defiance is being seen by a hive mind that does not understand it. Will that help or hurt? Daeyoung asked. I have no idea, Ba'ora admitted. But at least they will know the truth. We smile because it helps us survive. If it also scares the enemy, that is just a bonus. The meeting ended. Alone in the strategy room, Ba'ora watched Minho's footage one more time. The young soldier grinned at death itself and won. Humanity had brought many things to the coalition. Advanced technology, tactical knowledge, trained soldiers, but their greatest weapon might just be a smile. The Devour Throne world hung in space like a diseased eye. Its surface was covered in organic structures, pulsing and breathing as if the planet itself was alive. In a way, it was. The entire world was connected to the hive mind's central intelligence. The Queen, Admiral Taesung, stood on the bridge of the coalition flagship and stared at that horrible world. Beside him, Ji-won worked the tactical display with quick, efficient movements. She had been promoted to first officer after the Crimson Nebula battle. Her hands moved across the controls, coordinating 300 ships from a dozen species. All fleet elements report ready, Admiral, she said. Her voice was calm, professional, but Taesung knew her well enough to hear the slight edge underneath. Are you scared? He asked quietly. Ji-won glanced at him and gave a small smile. Terrified. You? Same. Taesung looked at the fleet display. This was it. The final push. 30 years of war would end here, one way or another. Remember when we used to run cargo routes? Simple, boring, safe work. I miss boring, Ji-won said, and now she was grinning despite herself. The communication channel crackled. Captain Seung-min's voice came through from the assault carrier. Ground forces ready for deployment, Admiral. Just give the word. Taesung took a breath. All ships, this is Admiral Taesung. Today we end this war. The Devourers have taken millions of lives across the galaxy. They have consumed worlds. They have made the universe smaller and darker with their hunger. But today, we say no more. He paused. We are coalition. We are united. And we are done being afraid. All ships begin the attack. The fleet surged forward. The first wave hit the Devourer orbital defenses like a hammer. Explosions bloomed in the void. Ships from both sides died in bright flashes. Through it all, human vessels pushed deeper than any others, taking risks that made the coalition commanders hold their breath. On the assault carrier, Seung-min stood with his ground forces. 2,000 soldiers, half human and half coalition species. They would be landing on the surface to fight toward the Queen's chamber. Listen up, Seung-min called out. This is going to be bad. The Devourers will throw everything at us. We will see things we wish we had not. Some of us will not make it back. He looked across the assembled troops. But we keep moving. We keep fighting. And if you are human, you do what humans do. You smile at the darkness and tell it to move aside. The humans in the room showed their teeth. The alien soldiers shifted nervously, still not entirely comfortable with that expression. The carrier shook as it entered the atmosphere. Seung-min gripped a support rail and felt his stomach drop as they fell toward the surface. Beside him, So-yeon checked her close combat gear one final time. The specialist was among the best fighters in the human military. So-yeon, Seung-min said. Yes, Captain? If we make it to the Queen, do not hesitate. She's not going to look like anything you have ever seen. So Yan smiled, showing her teeth. Good. I was getting bored with normal. The carrier landed hard. The doors blew open, and the troops poured out into a nightmare. The surface of the throne world was covered in organic matter. It moved under their feet. The air was thick and hot. And everywhere, devourers emerged from the ground itself. The battle became chaos instantly. Seung-min fired his weapon in short bursts, each shot putting down a devourer. Beside him, coalition troops fought with grim determination. The humans fought with something else. They were grinning down in orbit. The fleet battle raged. G1 coordinated fire from the flagship, her commands crisp and clear. When 3 Devour cruisers broke through the line and came at them, she adjusted the defense grid without panic. Admiral, they're targeting our engines, she said. I see them. Do we have a solution? G1 pulled up a firing pattern. It was risky. If they missed, the flagship would be crippled. If they succeeded, they would take out all 3 cruisers. Only if we are very lucky or very good, she said. Which are we? She grinned at him. Let us find out. The flagship opened fire. The pattern was perfect. All 3 Devour cruisers exploded within seconds of each other. G1 let out a breath and actually laughed. I cannot believe that worked. I never doubted you, Tae-sung lied. Now, how are our ground forces doing? The answer was not good. Casualties were mounting. But Seung-min's force was pushing toward the center of the organic structures where intelligence said the Queen waited. So-YEON led the close combat unit. They moved through corridors that pulsed like veins. Devourers came at them in waves. So-Yeon fought with brutal efficiency, her blade cutting through chitin and flesh. When a massive Devourer warrior blocked their path, she charged it directly. The creature was 3 times her size. It had claws that could tear through armor. It had the strength of 10 humans. So-YEON grinned at it. The Devourer hesitated. Just for a moment. Just long enough. So-YEON slid under its attack and drove her blade up through the softer armor under its jaw. The creature fell. She did not stop moving. Keep pushing, she called back. Her unit followed, and for the first time, the coalition soldiers with them started to understand. The smile was not about enjoyment. It was about refusing to let fear win. They reached the Queen's chamber. It was vast, like a cathedral made of bone and meat. And in the center, the Queen waited. She was enormous. A bloated, pulsing mass of flesh with 1,000 eyes and a mind connected to every devourer in existence. When she spoke, it was in every language at once. You should not be here. Prey does not enter the hunter's den. Seung-min stepped forward. His weapon was raised, but he knew it would not be enough. This thing was too big, too connected. Killing it would require the orbital strike that G1 was coordinating above. We are not prey, Seung-min said simply. You are food. You are resources. You are meant to be consumed. No. So-Yeon moved to stand beside her captain. We are done being afraid of you. And she smiled. The Queen's 1,000 eyes focused on her. The hive mind, vast and ancient, processed what it saw. Prey that showed teeth. Prey that advanced instead of ran. Prey that refused to act like prey. For the first time in its existence, the hive mind felt something it did not understand. Uncertainty. You smile while facing death, the Queen said. This is madness. No, Seung-min said. This is human. In orbit, G1 had the orbital strike locked. Admiral, I have the target. Captain Seung-min, you need to evacuate now. Seung-min's voice came back calm. Negative. We are holding position. When the Queen dies, the Devourers on this planet will go mad. We need to be here to contain them. Tae-sung closed his eyes. He knew what Sung-min was saying. The ground forces would not evacuate in time. Captain, that is a suicide mission. I know. Sung-min sounded almost cheerful. But someone has to do it. Besides, I always wanted to see an orbital strike up close. He was joking. Even now, even here, he was joking. G1, Tae-sung said quietly. Fire when ready. Ji-won's hand shook as she entered the command. The flagship's main cannon charged. On the planet's surface, Sung-min looked at his troops. It has been an honor, he said. So-Y-EO looked at the Queen one final time. The massive creature was trying to understand them, trying to process prey that smiled at predators. You will never understand us, So-Yan said. And that is why you lose. The orbital strike hit. The Queen's chamber exploded in light and heat. The hive mind screamed across every devourer in the galaxy. And then it went silent. Captain Sung-min and his ground forces died instantly. But their sacrifice broke the Devourer Collective. Without the Queen, the hive mind fragmented. Individual devourers became confused, mindless. The fleet above finished the battle quickly. When it was over, Tae-sung stood on the bridge in silence. Ji-won sat at her station with tears running down her face. Around them, the crew mourned. Vekthar approached the admiral slowly. The reptilian officer had fought alongside humans for months now. He had seen them smile, laugh, and grin through battles that would have broken anyone else. Admiral Tae-sung, I wanted to say. I understand now. The smiling. The laughter. Tae-sung looked at him with tired eyes. Do you? You smile because you are afraid. Because you are mortal, and you know it. But you refuse to let the universe see you surrender to that fear. Vekthar's scales shifted to a softer color. Captain Sung-min joked even as he faced death. Not because he did not care. Because he cared so much that he had to defy it in any way he could. Tae-sung nodded slowly. Yes, that is it exactly. It is the bravest thing I have ever seen, Vekthar said quietly. The war ended that day. The Devourers, without their queen, scattered and eventually died out. The coalition began the long work of rebuilding. And humanity earned its place in the galaxy, not as weapons or tools, but as the species that taught others how to smile at the darkness. Years later, a memorial was built. It showed Captain Sung-min and his forces in their final moments. The sculptor, a human artist, captured their expressions perfectly. They were smiling,